Well, it's ideological warfare. It's civilization jihad in order to dominate and gain political power. We went undercover in a hijab with a few friends and took some videos and photos of power. But what really violates our laws is that they're being forced to give into that mosque if they're going to live there. And we've proven that at least an eighth of all zakat giving goes to fund terrorism, to weaponize against us in Israel.
Welcome to the Kingdom Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simons. I have with me Krista Schild. Krista, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Can you give us a quick summary of what is happening out in the Plano area?
Yes. So, about a little over a year ago, Yaser Kadi, who is the Islamic scholar for East Plano Islamic Center, dropped a video about plans for development in the Josephine South Farmersville area. It encompassed a 402-acre property that is out in the rural area in the county, ETJ, which is extraterritorial jurisdiction. And actually, they were attempting to purchase up to about 1,500 acres in total surrounding that 402 acres that they plan on building a city within a city, a mosque, segregated boys and girls Sharia schools, homes, apartments, retail spaces, parks, you name it, everything, their own water, wastewater treatment, everything that they would need in order to survive and self-sustain within that Sharia compound. I call it a Sharia compound or Hamas sanctuary city.
Now, in Texas, where we can forget how often this is not the first time this type of thing has happened. It's not the first time that foreign countries have even tried to do that. There was, we have something similar that has already been built, I think, down in Houston, and there was at one point in time there was a airfield that was trying to be built by a former Chinese nationalist that was a landing strip. So we've had these types of things happen before. And a lot of times it's it's a blip in a news cycle, but I wanted to take some time and look at it and see why is this, to kind of talk through, okay, why is this something that needs to be brought to our attention? How should we be praying, and what kind of things can we be doing to in light of all this information?
Sure.
So they already have, it's 400 acres.
So they have closed on the 402 acres. I don't believe the other properties, at least not all of them, up to the 1,500 total, have been closed on. But the main compound, yes. And this has been a progression, Jeff. This didn't just come out of the blue. What they started doing was, when you build a mosque, a masjid, whatever you want to call it, Islamic Center, the method is to plant this mosque, give their ummah, their other Muslims, the ability to get 0% interest loans through places like North American Islamic Trust, or NATE for short. And then they build within a 3-mile radius around that, and they considered that whole area, not just the mosque, conquered territory. And so they've developed from having those types of setups to then saying, well, if we are getting away with doing this and taking over cities and taking over politically by these means, then they'll let us build our own subdivisions. What's wrong with that? So they build their own subdivisions. And what they're doing in those subdivisions, like in Epic One out of Plano, is they start naming the streets after Muslim conquerors, after their leaders who have killed people, terrorists. And so then this is like the next level, or the granddaddy of them all. And they want to make this 402 acres in surrounding territory the epicenter for Islam in America, to take down Texas in order to take down America.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
we're gonna. It's a lot. It's a lot to process.
it is a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm not a skeptic, but I'm going to start with the skeptic's view in mind,
Sure.
and we're going to kind of talk through a handful of different videos. Some you've shared on X, some that come from Amy Meck and
Hmm.
her organization. Um,
Yes.
so we'll be sure to put those links in the description also. But okay, so
Yes.
this first video is this is three men that are sitting at a table and they're discussing this plan for building these types of communities. Do you have any other information on this particular video?
Yes. So the main man who's talking here is actually from Michigan, and he's explaining how successful they've been in other parts of America in building these developments and naming them after Islamic conquerors, and that people have been helping and participating in this, and they're none the wiser while they're taking over. So it's a joke within themselves what they're doing to us.
And that comes across in this
Hmm.
video too. So
Yeah.
so let's just take a listen to what they have to say.
279-acre land. So like you said, brother, masjid, homes, a total Muslim village. So we're still debating on the name, but it's going to be something Muslim name and a village attached to it, right? The names of the streets, Khalid ibn al-Walid, Tariq bin Ziyad, like all the great conquerors. Like people need to Google those conquerors and know like what are we made of? Yeah, like,
Islamophobes, they're
Khalid
burning,
ibn
bro.
Walid. Google Tariq bin Ziyad, you know? And then we want to have different sections like Andalusia, this, that, like all our past glories, and we want to bring it back. The way what we're doing, brother, like you cannot make it exclusive, like non-Muslims not allowed,
Yeah.
kuffar not allowed. What we're doing, there's something called association fee. I don't know what it's called in Dubai. Like your maintenance fee that you pay yearly, to cutting the service fee, to cut the grass, to remove the snow and whatnot. So that service fee will put there 75% of the service fee you're paying goes to the masjid.
So they would automatically not want to come.
Automatically, if you are a practicing Christian, I would advise you, why help the Muslims, you know? Let Muslims do their own thing, right? So this is the way we're going to put the clause. And our attorney already put it there. So we have, brother, think about it. Like a guy comes from Bangladesh, have no idea about anything. Brother, we're putting an application now where we're selecting the names of the streets in the United States of America. We're putting the subdivision laws. Like, hey, this is the law. One of the laws being your yearly contributions, 75% of it goes to support the masjid that's going to be there.
So they're talking about using service fees to fund
Yes.
the masjid. Is that the mosque?
Yeah. Same name for a mosque or Islamic center. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to keep going because there's also, you can kind of get an idea of how they view this, you know, their attitude towards it.
It's so convoluted, and this is what we've been explaining to the city councils, and what I've been saying to other elected officials is the comptroller should be looking into revoking their 501c3s because this is how they operate, by setting up these LLCs, by doing these developments that are called investments rather than real estate. And it's a scheme even against their own people, but their own people are willing to plunk a lot of money down in order to advance the mosque, and everything gets funneled back to the mosque.
Well, and you know, I had somebody ask, where does the money come from? You know, he mentioned Dubai. So presumably that's where this interview is happening. Or either that or one of the people that are at this desk are from there. So okay, so oil money is the gist of it, but I'll continue.
Okay.
We're making these laws. We're putting those laws. It's unbelievable what Allah can do for you.
You know, just in my mind. You know, they say if you, what's called verbal manifestations. If you keep saying something to someone, they'll become like that. If you keep telling someone they're a villain, they'll become a villain. People get saying, bro, these Muslims are taking over. You know what? If you keep calling, if you keep saying it, yes, I'm actually going to do it.
No, but you know what's mad is what you just said, bro. Actually, I think it's mind blowing. You said a guy from Bangladesh comes over to the USA.
Starts naming streets.
Stop naming streets after Islamic.
It's unbelievable. I cannot sometimes even believe it. And I suggested those names. Other people saying, why these? Can we have like...
Comes over to the USA,
Start naming streets.
Stop naming streets after Islamic.
It's unbelievable. I cannot sometimes even believe it. And I suggested those names, or other people saying, "Why these?
Yeah.
Can we have like normal?"
I ask Allah, Ya
Cordoba
Allah,
Street.
give success to this project.
I mean,
Ya Allah, protect this project and give it success.
and there's no riba involved.
No riba, brother.
No haram. Like,
So we 6.8 million we raised in 40 minutes.
no, but
Now I'm like, okay, this is happening. This happened, right? And this is another thing. People fear too much, brother. Now you have raised it. Now I have great attorneys. Now we're going to use the kuffar when their telling comes in, right? We have the great attorneys. So I hired everyone that the township knows. So they have dealt with this is their boy, their attorney. This is their civil engineer. This is their planning commissioner. I have hired all of them in our team. Now they are submitting the application because now comes the real world. You got to, play it wise, right? So now the township is going to see an application coming from, I'm not going to name his name, like John Smith submitting this application, but it says Khalid ibn Walid Street. Oh my God, what is John Smith thinking, right? But this is what you make John Smith do when you got the money. You hire John Smith and tell him, hey, submit an application as I tell you to submit. Yeah. So
Are you sure this podcast is not going to get you in trouble?
Nothing, brother. I don't care. What are you going to do? So this is another
But
thing.
I want the project to manifest.
Of course.
that's when then you got to pull out the constitution.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Freedom of religion.
Exactly,
You know what
brother.
I'm saying?
You man identify as whatever you want, bro. I identify as Khalid bin Walid Street.
Yes.
This street identifies as Khalid bin Walid Street.
What are you going to do now? Hurt the street's feelings? Come on, man. Yeah.
So there you have it. The plan clearly laid out, and joking about how easy it is to take advantage of of our government and public officials who will knowingly sign off on something when it's a familiar name without so they're essentially contracting the known people intentionally.
Yes.
Okay.
It's true. We even have, we found out that a former GOP chairman in Texas is involved in what they're talking about and making local people and government submit to help them get their plans pushed through. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is that the same official that Victory News covered that
No.
was essentially politicking? Okay, for
No.
the okay, so it's multiple. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you also were on the Victory channel and Victory News, and they had some additional kind of coverage of the Imam Yaser Kadi, and give us a little background. So who is this individual that is spearheading the Epic Center in Plano?
So Yaser Kadi is a Pakistani guy. He's he's the chairman of the Fiqh Council, FIQH, and the Fiqh Council is connected to Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, which was proven to be a Hamas organization, an arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, just like CARE. And Yaser Kadi is the head of that, and so he is a top scholar in Sharia jurisprudence. So he was sent here from the Masjid in Memphis, Tennessee. And Tennessee sent him to Texas for the sole purpose of these upcoming developments to prepare the Ummah, the Muslim family here, to prepare to move toward most fundamental Sharia compliance, which to us looks like radical or extreme. But it is actually just being the most Sharia compliant, including he's telling women in one video that you don't need to leave your home. They won't need to leave that compound. They will have everything they need there. Let your husband bring everything to you. The abuse of women will absolutely increase under this oppressive situation. They can marry their young daughters off to older men, and that will be out of our purview once they're in a gated guarded compound. They are talking about punishments, including stoning, cutting off of hands for stealing, you name it, all the way down the line to capital punishment for being apostate, for not following Sharia.
Right. Well, that's some of those fundamental tenets of Sharia that, we generally, you hear Sharia and it's bad, but we don't always know what all it means. And I know it's female genital mutilation.
Mutilation,
There is pedophilia. Um, there's homosexuality. There is, children are getting molested. And in addition to the extreme penalty of, you mentioned apostate, I think it's anyone that converts from Islam, punishable by death, and then anybody that does the converting, punishable by death. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then there's cutting off of hands if you're caught stealing. There's stoning if you're caught in adultery. So there's right. So there's this long list of penalties that get enforced by Sharia, and so Yaser Kadi, which I want to hit on a couple of the points that we just made, because we've brought up Sharia, we've brought up the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE. He and you mentioned his connections with Hamas, that it was proven that he was in support of Hamas. So I want to show a clip of and again, this is from your broadcast with Victory News, and share this with the viewers for context of who this individual is that we're discussing, and what he's actually publicly stated.
But listen to Imam Yaser Kadi, resident scholar at the East Plano Islamic Center.
Do you condemn the terrorist group Hamas? I will only condemn if we fairly condemn all sides. Sharia practicing, alhamdulillah, would raise no eyebrows in this audience. However, amongst the right wing, we all know what would happen when we say we're Sharia practicing.
So I realize that's two very brief clips, but the statement of we'll denounce when the other side denounce. I mean, when that quote happens, we're talking about October 7th, where there was the Hamas invades Israel and attacks a music festival, killing and capturing a bunch of innocent individuals, and refusing to denounce that, refusing to denounce that act, and then and saying that this would only happen when Israel gets denounced, when it was pretty clear that they were the victims in that case.
Yes.
And then now he's advocating for Sharia.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and play this other clip really quickly, because it's right next to it with the children.
And this video allegedly of students from the Epic School already operating in East Plano.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you so much.
So they are already indoctrinating children to. Now, for those, there was a while where that chant was being heard on college campuses and things like that.
In Gaza.
And right.
Yeah.
So now they're holding up maps, and those maps don't include Israel. So this is a blatantly anti-Semitic language. Am I getting this correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Yes. So is wearing the black and white checkered scarf. Yes. So, and we've already seen in North Carolina, a woman got arrested because she complained. She talked to a Muslim woman who was wearing that scarf while she was working in a grocery store. And the manager was brought into it because she asked her, look, it's Halloween. Is this part of a costume? She said no. And she admitted that she was wearing it as a political statement, not just a hijab. And so she said to the manager, well, you have something in your employee handbook that says that employees can't wear anything political to work. So she really ought not wear this particular scarf. And it turned out that the manager and the employee went to the police and filed a complaint that they felt threatened by this woman, who's a Jewish woman who was just asking questions. And the police came to her home and arrested her.
Well, it's shocking, but it's actually not the first time I've covered this type of story. It so Hatun Tash is a evangelist in London who has been stabbed on multiple occasions for preaching at Preacher's Corner, preaching the gospel and denouncing Islam, and really she's an apologist. If you want to get down to her method, there's a measure of it that is shocking. Some I'm sure would find it off-putting, but she is an evangelist and an apologist and a former Muslim herself, and is trying to logically bring people through the flaws of um, Islam. But she's had the police arrest her on multiple occasions. As somebody who was being beaten by a crowd, they arrested her. And
Yes.
and we're seeing this Islamification of culture.
Yes.
And one of my guests that I'm recording later this week with is an expert in this particular field and in London, and we're going to talk about why this is important for Christians and how this is kind of a modern movement. The next, crusade isn't the right word, but something along those lines where it's a culture war that's happening, and how we start in the West, how we start to lose our culture through these types of things.
Well, it's ideological warfare. It's civilization jihad in order to dominate and gain political power. And Yaser Kadi has talked about. He has a video out there speaking to the Ummah, talking about political expansion in order to dominate. And so the real threat of them getting in this development is that they will definitely have between Collin County and Hunt County, in those little cities, they'll outnumber them. They will be able to, if they get annexed into the city, be able to vote and run for local government and take over the local governments. And if we ever lose those counties, if we ever lose those critical counties from the takeovers, we will lose our ability from Texas, our electoral college vote, to ever choose another president again.
Wow. Well, you mentioned, some of the footage of Yaser Kadi, and we actually have something that we miss, and in the West we generally have this mindset, I would say, of giving people the benefit of the doubt, right? Where someone that's unknown or new to you, you give them the benefit of the doubt. We assume that everybody is kind of operating under the same fundamental tenets as we are, and that is not the case when we're dealing with these types of situations.
Right.
And one of the things that we miss is that it is justifiable in Islam to lie to officials, to lie to other people, if you believe that you are on a just cause.
Right.
If your cause is in support of Allah, then it is justifiable and okay to lie. So they will say anything that, and not everybody is a fundamentalist Muslim, but in this case, the group that we're talking about, we believe is, and we have evidence connecting them to CARE and to the Muslim Brotherhood, which we'll go over that here in just a second. But here we have, again, this is Yaser Kadi, and he is explaining to a group why he believes that the law of the land in America is of a lesser importance, and he makes an argument, makes a case for Sharia. So we'll watch it. So it's about 2 minutes of a 5-minute video. Again, this is on Amy Meck's page, and she's over the Rare Foundation, RAI.
Yes, it's a play
right?
on CARE in order to poke at them because of what they've done to her family. But if it weren't for Amy Meck and Rare Foundation, I really hate to think where we would be right now in this fight. She's an amazing, amazing lady, and we owe a debt of gratitude to her.
Well, we'll be sure to link the Rare Foundation in the description for those that want to have follow-up information, because we're also using a lot of content that she's
And
done the
she's
work to find.
and she's putting out action alerts, and please donate to her. She is working out of pocket day and night. We're around the clock doing investigations and bringing documentation, and she's running articles.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Amy. Okay,
Yes.
so here's the video from the Rare Foundation. All right.
It is not my right to legislate or your right to legislate. No Supreme Court, no system of government, no democracy where they vote. Can you believe it? A group of people coming together and voting, and the majority vote will then be the law of the land. What gives you the right to prohibit something or allow something? Who gave you this right? Are you creators? Are you all knowledgeable? Do you understand the repercussions, the implications of the laws that you're going to pass? أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ? Do they wish to follow the laws of ignorance? Verily, Allah is our judge. He knows what's best for us. So we have to beware of following in this path of those people. Because unfortunately, we have many Muslims today who are influenced by this. And they'll say, okay, we'll take the laws of worship. We'll pray 5 times a day. We'll give the zakah. We'll go for pilgrimage. We'll fast the month of Ramadan. But as for family laws and the economic system and the punishments, I don't have to follow that. This is the modern world we live in. We're not living in the 7th century anymore. We're living in the 21st century. My dear brothers, is the Allah of the 7th century any different of the Allah of the 21st century? It's the same. Has the message of Islam, was it meant only for the 7th century? Was it only meant for a certain time and place? On the contrary, the religion of Allah, or the religion that Allah sent down, is an eternal religion until the day of judgment. To compartmentalize Islam, I'm going to take this and I'm going to leave that, shows that you really don't believe in Islam. You don't believe in Allah. You don't believe in the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you believed in Allah, you would not have the audacity to say, I don't have to follow this. Rather, you would say, Sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey. A Muslim is one who submits in totality. What does it mean to be a Muslim? A Muslim is one who submits his body, his heart, his soul to Allah and to the commandments of Allah. This is what a Muslim is. This type of thinking is clear kufr, clear disbelief. To believe that you know better, or any system of government knows better, any democracy, or any, whether it be communism, socialism, any type of philosophy, is better than Islam, or it is allowed, legitimately allowed to follow this system, this is a profession of the fact that you believe that Allah is not all knowledgeable, a'udhu billah, and that He doesn't know what is best for us, a'udhu billah. Therefore, this is a negation of your testimony of La ilaha illallah. To believe that it is permissible to follow a way of life, to follow a system of laws other than the Sharia, negates one's testimony of Islam. It doesn't matter whether you think that that system of laws is better than Islam, whether it is equivalent to Islam, or even whether it is lesser than Islam but permissible to turn to. If someone says, oh yes, the laws of Islam are better, but it's all right to be a socialist or a communist or a pure democracy, it's all right. Even this goes against one's testimony of faith.
So there it is. He just laid it out. He said that that Sharia is the ultimate law, and no government or government system has the right to say otherwise.
That's right. And he says it's a whole way of life, and it's incumbent upon them to make sure that Muslims are living the full way of life. He mentions in there, well, I only want to pray and fast, and I'll give the zakat. Let me tell you how dangerous the zakat is. So the first 1,000 home sites that were pre-sold before the land was even closed on in Josephine and South Farmersville, the 402 acres, they had to sign a contract that stated that they would give zakat to the mosque. We believe that every person is mutu Islam, or Islamic that is moving in there and therefore violates fair housing. But what really violates our laws is that they're being forced to give into that mosque if they're going to live there. And we've proven that at least an eighth of all zakat giving goes to fund terrorism, to weaponize against us in Israel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how is it that they're able to sell the home sites beforehand? I'm thinking through, like,
Right.
Jim Baker went to jail for selling I think it was a retirement living
Mhm.
before it existed,
Yes.
and it was considered a form of conspiracy and fraud. So conspiracy against the donors and fraud because because it didn't exist yet, and there was no evidence that it could exist. So
Right.
they were promoting it. How is this different?
It's not. It's just that if a Christian pastor does this, they can't get away with it. The IRS is up in their grill. If they do this, they seem to be getting away with it until we cry foul so loud that our leadership has to pay attention. And that's what's happened. Because when I built teams to talk to our elected officials and start doing a public awareness campaign over a year ago and dealing with this issue, our elected officials were not moving on it. They were watching it. They were in some communication with us, but we weren't getting anywhere until Amy Mack, with the followers she has and who she is, called out Governor Abbott and said, "Why is this allowed to happen?" And so we got his attention. We finally got Attorney General Paxton's attention. The investigations are happening with the help of those of us who have been doing the work behind the scenes, but getting that information in their hands, and hopefully they're following through with those things and really get down to business, because there's so many Texas code violations, much less the unconstitutionality of all of this. They pre-sold at $40,000 down. In some instances, they gave a discount of $30,000 down. Then they made them follow up with another matching down payment before the land was ever sold to them. And then it's called an investment, not real estate, and they can never sell that property. Real estate agents can never make money on the sales of those homes in the future, because the mosque has to approve transfers to make sure that they're only keeping their own people inside that compound.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it pulled up on the other screen. So it is the same thing that Jim Baker was arrested for. It's he was arrested and convicted 1989 for breaking federal laws related to mail fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to defraud the public. These charges stemmed from his actions as a founder of the PTL Ministries, which is a 501c3.
Yep.
Same thing we're dealing with here,
Yes.
where he oversold, quote, lifetime partnerships, and those partnerships were to the Heritage USA Resort, the retirement area. It was specifically for the elderly. He oversold it and raised more money than he had plans for building, but he could have kept building them. But anyway, he gets arrested, and I think he was given like 50 years, and then it was reduced or something like that. But and that was back in '89. That and now we have a similar situation. We have an oversold amount of properties, and there's nothing that's being done. At least federally, nothing is being done about it to stop it. And hopefully Governor Abbott actually does something. But to your point, there's been a lot of people saying they're watching, but it's hard to see what's actually being done. But before we get into that, we've made a couple statements. I want to make sure that we qualify for the audience. So we made the statement that this center, the Epic Center, I gotta say this. Epic is I'll say it's fantastic branding.
It is. I know. East Plano Islamic Center. Yeah.
It is good branding.
And it's the epicenter, right? Yeah.
So we said that this group has connections to terrorism. So
Yes.
now you sent me a screenshot from the
Yes.
website. So this is actually from CARE DFW,
Yes.
and they are organizing an event. So let me go ahead and pull this up so the audience can see it.
Is this from my private investigation that I
Yes.
sent you?
Yep.
Yes. I
Yes.
actually went undercover in a hijab with a few friends and took some videos and photos of this event between East Plano Islamic Center, several mosques and Islamic centers in the DFW area. They brought busloads in to Carswell Federal Prison in Fort Worth and stood outside of the federal prison with CARE, and they demanded the release of an Al-Qaeda operative, and that was September of 2021. And then in December, this flyer is for a fundraiser where Epic actually hosted this fundraiser to raise money for the attorney who was over Dr. Afia Siddiqui's case, and they hosted her sister as well.
So this is so thank God for the Wayback Machine. You know, you put something online and you can still find it. So
Yes.
this is because this particular page is pulled down, but you can still go back and find it. So here's CARE DFW. Here's the flyer that they put out for
Right.
Dr. I don't know how to say
Afia Siddiqui.
Afia Siddiqui.
Yeah.
At the Epic Center, the East Plano Islamic Center, and this is back in December. Did you say it was 2021?
Yes. Okay. This was right after the CARE campaign that they did in connection with them.
Okay. So they had done a protest, and they're doing fundraising for this woman. Now, for those that don't know, and myself included, I've researched it prior to this particular show, but for those that haven't heard, who is Dr. Afia Siddiqui?
Afia Siddiqui is a physicist, and she her specialty is building bombs. And so Al-Qaeda brought her in to build bombs to take out our troops in Afghanistan. She actually shot at some of our troops in Afghanistan. And she was handed over by the Pakistani government here. And when they looked over her belongings, they found lists of places in America where she was going to plant dirty bombs that she built. And so the evidence was very clear. They like to make her out as a victim and that she was set up somehow. But it was very clear. She's in federal prison in Fort Worth, and she's been there for a long time. And CARE in Houston and CARE in Dallas did this campaign to demand her release. And while I was there during the protest, they blocked the road going into the prison, and they were shouting threats to the guards. So they threatened law enforcement, and they also talked about the release of other terrorists, and that would be justice under Sharia for them.
Now, what we're about to see, this is your footage from being at the event, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Support all the prisoners, inshallah. Just want to make an announcement. As we have Sister Asli in the presence, subhanAllah, fighting for her. We also have our Palestinian Muslim brothers fighting for Aqsa independent as well. And we have a responsibility as well. So we have also the Palestinians that they can take Aqsa in the prison. They put them in the prison. Inshallah, tomorrow.
So it's kind of hard to hear, but she is saying that there are other Muslim brothers that are in jail, and they're and I assume she's making the case that this is an injustice of some form.
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, you can see there's quite a few people. So they had the road blocked off when this is happening? Okay.
Yes. They brought in busloads. There were several hundred people there.
Wow. Okay.
We have another route to demand free the Palestinian prisoners as well. I have some laws to free our sister Asia, our people in Kashmir.
So again, she said, "Free our sister," and referring to
this Al Qaeda operative. Yeah.
Right. And she even had the nickname at one point. It was like Lady Al Qaeda or something like that.
Yes.
And so they're petitioning for her release, and this was organized by CARE
and
at the Islamic Center with Epic.
Yes.
So there's a direct connection, and here's you had the flyer, and here's the footage of them petitioning for the release of a known terrorist.
Yes.
Is there? Does she continue? Is there more in there?
Well, if you'll go to the end, if you'll scoot it over, I want people to hear the very end of this, and I want to explain this.
I'll just go ahead and play. It's only 20 seconds.
Okay.
And may Allah also free our shuyukh, our imams, the ones in the prison, and also the Allah wants to avoid
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Takbir Allahu Akbar 3 times. They did this several times. And this sealed the message that they were giving each time they gave a message like this. And it means we will follow through. If you don't meet our demands, there will be repercussions. And what happens is because the news media doesn't typically understand what this is all about, and even law enforcement is not typically taught about this particular threat, that we never put those 2 and 2 together, and we don't call it what it is. Do you remember 4 months after this, there was a hostage situation at the Collieville synagogue? That was in direct response to this. The man who took those men hostage at the Collieville synagogue said that this is why he was doing this, because we didn't release her. But you don't hear that. It's hushed.
Right. And it it was there was some situation in Collieville, and then the motive was obscured.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's part of the issues that we have with the kind of the propaganda that we have to filter through when it comes to any news reporting.
Yeah.
If you want to know a full story, you have to dig. And if you want to get past the editorialized version, it's just you got to know what you're listening to and filter through the information.
That's right.
So what are some of the new developments with Epic?
So what we've done is we've been proving who these particular people are that are behind not only this development, but several others that are cropping up in the area. And they purchase large amounts of rural property out in the ETJs, out in the county, and they get the city councils to annex them in some way. And what people don't realize is when they annex them, they can actually come back later and sue the city, and the taxpayer will be on the hook for them. And so it's a very dangerous game. And we're looking at some city council members right now that look very complicit in some things that have been corrupt and illegal involving these kinds of situations and other developments. We're looking at this takeover happening very quickly because they feel like they have conquered that territory already by purchasing the land. They feel very bold right now and making moves in a lot of other areas. And we're just, literally going from city council to city council trying to deal with these situations as they arise. So we need people to show up at city council meetings. That's an action alert item. Amy Meck will be putting those out on her website. We need people to not just call and email your elected officials, especially Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton, but if you see any activity in your area cropping up, anything that warrants attention, get that information to us and we'll start investigating that as well. And then write letters. Write letters to these people, letting them know how you feel about this Islamization of Texas and what this would mean, especially to the Jewish communities. We're talking to the conservative Jewish communities and the Orthodox Jewish communities, and they're afraid of what this means. They've already seen the power takeover in Plano, and the two Orthodox Jewish communities in Plano are just really like, if this gets any bigger, we know what this means in the near future for us, and it's pretty scary. And we're trying to represent them, and our elected officials should be thinking about not just representing Muslims. They should be thinking about how they're representing Jewish people and other Christians, especially those who are in support of Israel and their right to exist. I'm meeting with somebody in Governor Abbott's office. We're just getting them information. The more information that we are showing them, there's mounds of evidence of who these people are, what their stated goals are, what their plans are once they move into these communities, and what they're already doing and teaching their people will happen once they establish in that way. We already have people running for mayor, city council in these areas, and we actually have 2 Muslim precinct chairs in Collin County who have infiltrated, and they work to undermine us already.
Well, and I think we have them in state representative.
We do. We have
the
2.
state representatives also.
We have 2 Pakistani men who they've not been able to get their bills passed thus far when it comes to putting Muslim holidays on school calendars that would actually make our kids celebrate a holiday, Eid al-Fitr, that would be a celebration of the Battle of Badr, the first time that Muslims won a battle against us infidels. It would be like a Japanese organization having our kids celebrate the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th. And they want halal meals in the cafeterias, but they've been successful at getting their Muslim resolutions passed in order to get a foot in the door, including, did you know that Texas is officially mourning the death of a Shiite Muslim terrorist leader? And we have Pakistan Day and Muslim
No,
Day at the
I heard
Capitol.
about Pakistan.
Yeah.
I heard about the Pakistan Day thing, and I was thinking, what is this?
Yeah.
And that's how I found that. Oh, this is coming from these 2 individuals that are the state state
Reps.
representatives.
Bojani and
Yeah.
Lalani. Yes, very dangerous. And they work in conjunction with another state representative out of Houston. His name is Gene Wu, and our nickname for him is Chai Kong Wu because he has connections to the CCP.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes to the CCP also has, that was the airfield that, I forget all the details, but it had the width of the airfield. The only plane that would need that kind of width is made in China. It's the largest troop carrying plane in existence. And that was the plans. That was, it sounds distant and foreign to us because we're not accustomed to this kind of thinking.
Right.
But as a nation, America has enemies, and as Christians, we have a responsibility to stand up for truth, and we want to make sure that we are both not just praying for our elected officials, but that we're standing for the values of that Jesus espoused, which
that's right.
Which Sharia clearly contradicts, as well as a lot of these other values that are being proposed.
Yes.
Krista, any final thoughts? Any other kind of things that we should be taking away from this interaction?
Yes. This land was actually sold by a lot of grandchildren, great grandchildren of it was an inheritance. And they basically just sold this rural property to the highest bidder. And it really points to Malachi 4:6. We need to understand what true worth and true value is, and how important inheritance is. Esau sold his birthright. and God says that He can smite the land with a curse. And it's important right now that we not only stop these developments, but we roll all of this back, lest the land be smite with a curse. And we need to really establish that generational bond again in Christ Jesus, and the father's hearts turning to the children, and the children back to the fathers, and understanding what that generational wealth and generational inheritance means, and not our enemies basically literally grabbing our inheritance and our land from us and running with it.
Well, and it goes to one of the flaws of our American mentality, which, as a blessed nation, wealth has been a big part of that mindset. And selling something to the highest bidder, somebody can always bid higher, and unfortunately, that's we've seen that over and over again. So God, move quickly on behalf of our nation. So Krista, would you pray for our audience, pray for Texas, and whatever's on your heart?
Thank you. Father God, I thank you so much that you are a good and faithful God. I thank you this week especially. We think about the sacrifices that you made for us, Lord. And Lord, that we have our living, moving, and being in you. We can't do this without you, Lord. This is a Goliath. This is a giant, Lord. But you said that Goliath didn't stand a chance. Lord, it took 5 smooth stones, but only one to hit him in the middle of the forehead. And Lord, you had David cut off the head of that giant when he was all finished. And Lord, I just thank you that you are a God of a finished work. And I thank you that you will faithfully complete the work that you begun in each of us, Lord, in this process of bringing Texas back to God, Lord, restoring the years the locust is eaten and the cankerworm is made whole, Lord, and saving Texas from destructions to save America from destruction. And Lord, I just thank you that you're a God who's with us, Lord, that this giant has to fall and doesn't stand a chance. And Lord, I just thank you that as we take our firm stance, that you are mighty in battle for us. We bless you and thank you and give you all the glory, honor, and praise in the mighty and precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, Krista, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. You have a blessed day.
You too.